Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be duping Natasha Denona Yucca palette with the eyeshadows that I already own. So if you are interested in seeing that, just keep on watching. I made my comparisons to the swatches that were shown in Natasha Denona's IG story. The very first eyeshadow is called Plantasia and it is the light gold, rose goldy sort of shade, and I think this shade right here is actually matching pretty well. This is the Flower Beauty Jungle Lights first shade and it's called Amazon. And now you might be wondering that this looks like beige. Not exact dupe though. It has this peachy pinky undertone and it comes very close. It looks really similar. The next shade is called Calathea and this is this army green shade, and I'm duping it with this shade called Float Your Crib from Mandalorian the Child palette. I find it hard to dupe shimmers in this palette, but mattes are pretty fine and it is really close match to what's shown in their swatches. I'm just gonna do one more swatch, and I'm also swatching all of these eyeshadows in a bright indirect natural light. The third shade in first row is called Komorebi and it looks like a very light green tinted shimmer. This is the shade called Paradise from Flower Beauty Jungle Lights palette that I'm duping it with. In swatches, the Natasha Denona shade looks like it has warm undertones. It has similar vibes but not a dupe. And the next shade is called Acacia. I assume that's how it's pronounced, sorry, and I'm duping it with this shade called Moss from Angie's and Wooden Eyes Hela palette. It looks like green, but let's see how it looks on the skin. It looks nothing like the picture. I cleaned the swatch and I think this shade called Wolf would work pretty well. That looks exactly like the picture. And the last shade in first row is called Komu Komu, and again from Hela palette, this shade called Rebirth matches pretty well. Both shades are pastel yellow with a prominent white base. Honestly, I think the shade called Rebirth looks better. I think the shade called New Wave would be a nice match for the first shade in second row called Tipu in Natasha Denona palette. It leans more pink. I'm gonna put this shade called Wolf on top of this one. Yeah, that's much better. I think any mustardy brown shade would work. The next shade is called Elysian. I took this shade called Parties Jumping and topped it off with Saturday Night from Essence Mauve Outer Hair palette. Natasha Denona shade is way more sparkly. The only reason I picked this one is because it has pink reflex, but they are not getting picked on the camera, but that's what we have. And I'm not going to wear this kind of shade every day on my eyelids, so getting exact match is not a big deal to me. For this next shade called Valley, I'm picking Smiley Face from Optimistic AF palette from BH Cosmetics, and I think it comes pretty close. Looks a bit lighter than shown in the picture, but I think tones are same. Going back to Subculture palette to dupe Citrine shade with this beautiful shade called Edge. They are totally matching in my opinion. They have exact same depth. If you use one in place of other, no one can tell. And this is my story looking like so far. I am reaching back to this Odin's Eye palette for the shade called Golden Bridge. And I think it looks similar to the shade called Ray. It's a greenish gold shimmer. Not exact dupe, but I think it works with the color story. Using this shade called Fudge in place of Flax. It's the first shade in the third row. And from swatches, it looks like a very neutral, warm brown. And I think Fudge works great for this one. Fudge is really deep as well. Using this new Wave shade from Subculture to dupe Fushi. And I think they look pretty close because they have same depth and same tones. And going back to my Baby Yoda palette to dupe shade Makia with this shade called The Force. Makia is very sparkly greenish gold shade but has a jewel tone, I guess. But the Force is a little bit lighter, but I think they look same on the eyes. I think so far we are doing really good. Acacia is the second last shade that we are duping with Roxy from Subculture. And it is a pinkish tone. Roxy is a little bit less warmer than Acacia. I'm pretty sure I would have something similar to Acacia. I just have to dig around a little bit more in my collection. The last shade, Willow, looks really similar with this Ouroboros. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. But this green shade from Odin's Eye palette. And this is how it swatches against it. Willow looks a little bit more warm toned, but I think depending on how you pair it on the eye, it's gonna look exact same. I am so happy with how the color story has turned out. As a project planner, my preference is to buy less stuff, so I think I really don't need Natasha Denona palette. Again, it's not the same, but I think I can get similar looks. Look how pretty it looks in sunlight. I am so excited to play around with this one more. Well, if you have made it this far, please consider subscribing to my channel because I make a lot of planning videos, and this is the first time I've done a video like this, and it takes forever to edit. Oh my god. Well, thank you so much for watching it until the end. I hope you have a wonderful day or night depending on when you're watching my video. I will see you in my next one. Until then, take care. Bye.